Some personalities are easy to describe. You can name a few traits, throw in a couple habits, and most people get the idea. But INFJs don't work like that. You can list their qualities: introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging, but it still doesn't get close to capturing who they really are. Even people who know them well struggle to explain how they think, how they feel, or why they react the way they do. The truth is, INFJs don't fit into easy categories. They move through life with a different rhythm, guided by inner systems that can't be seen or measured. They're not loud, but they're intense. They're not pushy, but they're powerful. They seem soft at first glance, but inside they're sharp, steady, and built with more emotional steel than most people realize. Trying to explain an INFJ is like trying to describe a quiet storm. You might notice the calm, the stillness, the quiet way they speak. But beneath that surface, there's a world of thought, feeling, memory, imagination, and meaning that few people ever witness. They feel more than they show. They know more than they say. And they carry more than they let on. That's why this video doesn't aim to describe the INFJ in the usual way. Instead, we're going to look at 6 rare angles, ways to understand the INFJ not just by traits, but by how they live, how they move, how they make sense of the world. These aren't textbook descriptions. They're deeper truths. And while no human explanation will ever capture them completely, this comes as close as words can take us. Let's begin with the first way, one that explains why INFJs always seem to know things before they're said. Way number 1. They live in invisible maps. Most people move through life by reacting to what's around them. They rely on what they can see, hear, touch, or prove. They need things to make sense on the surface. But INFJs operate on a completely different system. They move through the world by feeling patterns, sensing direction, and following quiet signals that no one else notices. It's like they have a map inside their head. But instead of roads and cities, this map is made of emotions, meanings, memories, values, and future possibilities. It's built over time through observation, reflection, and emotional experience. And even though it's invisible, they trust it completely. They might meet someone for the first time and already sense what kind of person they are. They might enter a room and instantly feel tension, even when no one's talking. They might make a choice that seems odd to others, but deep down, they just know it's right. This inner guidance doesn't come from guessing. It comes from intuition, one of the strongest traits in the INFJ system. But their version of intuition isn't just a quick hunch. It's a slow-building, deeply wired awareness of how people, events, and energies connect. Over time, their map gets more detailed. They start seeing life not as a series of random moments, but as a web of meaning. Every experience adds something. Every mistake teaches them. Every emotional shift reveals a new pathway. They might not explain it clearly, but they live by it. This is why INFJs often feel out of place in fast-moving or shallow environments. They don't do well when decisions are rushed or when people expect quick answers without reflection. Their mind is built for depth, not speed. They need space to let their internal map speak, and when they get that space, they usually land in the right place. What makes this trait seem strange is that other people can't see the map. They can't feel the inner world that's guiding the INFJ. So when the INFJ makes a bold move, avoids something, or says no without offering reasons, it confuses people. But to the INFJ, the direction is already clear. They have seen it. They've felt it. And their map has already shown the way forward. That invisible navigation is what gives INFJs their quiet confidence. They don't need applause. They don't need proof. They just need time to listen to the world inside them and follow the signs only they can see. Way number 2. Their empathy is a two-way mirror. Most people understand empathy as being able to feel what someone else feels. And that's true to a degree. But for INFJs, empathy isn't just about feeling, it's about absorbing. They don't just understand your mood, they experience it. They don't just hear your words, they feel the weight behind them, even if you're not aware of it yourself. This kind of empathy is like a mirror, but not just one way. It reflects you back to yourself, while also revealing something you might not have noticed. INFJs often say they feel what others can't express. They might know someone's upset before that person even admits it. They might sense fear, doubt, or sadness that's being covered by a smile. And because they don't want to make people uncomfortable, they rarely call it out directly. Instead, they adjust. They comfort. They create space. This two-way mirror effect can be powerful, but also exhausting. INFJs often carry emotional weight that doesn't belong to them. They might walk into a room and feel heavy without knowing why, only to find out later someone else was in distress. They might listen to a friend vent and go home with a tight chest and spinning thoughts, not because they're worried about themselves, but because they're holding that friend's emotion inside their body. And the hard part is, most people don't notice. INFJs are good at keeping calm. They won't always tell you how much they're feeling. They won't show the cost of caring so deeply. But it's there. Behind the steady voice, behind the soft smile, they're feeling everything you feel, and then some. What makes this kind of empathy weird is how precise it is. INFJs often describe knowing what someone needs before they ask. They might offer help in just the right way, say the thing no one else thought to say, or give silence when it's more healing than words. It's not a performance, it's instinct. It comes from reading people on a level most can't reach. And yet, this trait often leaves INFJs feeling misunderstood. People take their emotional labor for granted. They assume the INFJ is just nice or supportive. But underneath that care is a system that's always working, always reading, always adjusting. That's why INFJs need time alone, not to escape people, but to drain out the emotion they've absorbed. They love deeply. But if they don't reset, they lose track of what feelings are theirs. This kind of empathy can't be taught. It can't be explained in simple steps. It's not just feeling with others, it's walking with them, silently, gently, all the way through their unseen world. Way number 3. They build meaning out of chaos. Most people go through hard times trying to move past them. They push the pain away, distract themselves, or tell themselves to get over it. But INFJs don't work like that. When something difficult happens, when life breaks, when people leave, when emotions get too loud, they don't just move on. They go into it. And from that broken space, they start to build meaning. This is one of the INFJ's rarest traits. They can take the hardest moments and shape them into something with value. Not right away. Not easily. But with time, reflection, and quiet processing, they turn chaos into clarity. It starts inside. They'll replay what happened, not just the facts, but the feelings. They'll look at their choices. They'll question their patterns. They'll ask what it meant, what it showed them, and what it revealed about other people. And once they've done that, they don't just let the experience fade. They keep it, carry it, and use it. You'll see this in how INFJs speak. When they talk about their past, they often share insights instead of blame. When they talk about pain, they also talk about growth. They don't pretend everything's fine, but they do search for the why behind everything. And once they find it, they don't forget it. This is why INFJs often seem wise beyond their years. It's not because life was easy. It's because they refused to waste their pain. They looked into the mess, sat in it, and searched until they found something to carry forward. Sometimes this looks like creativity. INFJs are drawn to writing, art, teaching, or helping others through their own struggles, not because they want attention, but because they want their own experience to serve a bigger purpose. Other times it shows up in quiet choices. They walk away from toxic patterns. They build new ways of living. They stop repeating what hurt them. This meaning-making process isn't always beautiful. It can be messy, dark, and lonely. But INFJs know that truth doesn't come from avoiding chaos. It comes from facing it. And they're willing to go deeper than most people ever will. What makes this trait strange is how long it takes. While others rush to fix or forget, INFJs sit in the wreckage and wait. They wait for understanding. They wait for the moment it makes sense. And when it finally does, they rise, not broken, but rebuilt. They don't wear their story on their sleeve. But it's there, in their eyes, in their voice, in the way they treat people. Everything they've been through lives in them, not as weight, but as wisdom. Others. Number 4. They disappear inward to reappear stronger. If you know an INFJ well, you've probably seen this happen. One week they're present, involved, giving time and energy to the people around them. They're listening, helping, and then the next week, they're gone. Not in a dramatic way. Not with anger or excuses. Just quiet. Distant. Hard to reach. This retreat confuses people. Friends might take it personally. Co-workers might assume they're burned out or losing interest. But for the INFJ, this disappearance isn't a sign of weakness. It's a process. It's how they reset. When INFJs pull back, they're not just resting. They're turning inward. They're closing off the noise of the outside world so they can hear themselves again. Too much interaction, too much stimulation, too much emotional energy from others. It all starts to drown out their own thoughts. So they pull away. Not forever, but for as long as it takes to remember who they are. During this time, they might cancel plans, ignore texts, or go silent online. But behind the scenes, something real is happening. They're sorting through what they've absorbed. They're letting go of emotional noise. They're reflecting, rebalancing, and grounding themselves. Sometimes this inward phase lasts a few days, sometimes longer. But when they return, they're clearer, stronger, more focused. Because now they're not reacting to everything around them. They're moving from within again. This trait can make INFJs seem unpredictable. People don't always understand why they're suddenly unavailable. But the truth is, INFJs live on a cycle. Give deeply, retreat completely, then return with purpose. If they don't take time to disappear, they start to lose the clarity that makes them who they are. What makes this trait powerful is that it's not about giving up, it's about coming back better. INFJs know that strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's built in silence, in solitude, in small, steady moments that no one sees. So the next time an INFJ disappears, remember, they're not running. They're rebuilding. And when they return, they'll be ready, not just to keep going, but to move forward with real direction. Way number 5. They speak quietly, but their ideas echo loudly. INFJs are rarely the loudest voice in a room. They don't interrupt. They don't dominate conversations. They don't feel the need to prove themselves with volume. But when they do speak, people remember. That's because INFJs don't speak just to fill space. They speak with purpose, with thought, with words that often come from deep reflection. They listen longer than most. They think before they talk. And by the time they say something, it's usually worth hearing. This quiet delivery can make people underestimate them at first. In group settings, INFJs may seem reserved, even unsure. But as soon as they share their perspective, everything shifts. The room gets quiet. The mood changes. And their words leave a lasting effect. What makes this so unique is that INFJs aren't trying to control the room. They're not looking for attention. But because they've been watching, listening, and sensing everything before they speak, they often say the thing no one else has thought of. This happens in relationships too. An INFJ partner might stay quiet during a disagreement, but then, when they finally open up, they offer insight that changes the whole dynamic. Not from anger, from clarity, from seeing the whole picture. The same thing happens in work, in art, in leadership. INFJs might not push their ideas forward every day. But when the time is right, their ideas land with weight. People come back to them later. They quote them. They remember the way those words felt long after they were spoken. This kind of impact is hard to measure. It's not loud or flashy, but it stays. INFJs know that influence doesn't have to be forceful. It can be soft, thoughtful, and carefully timed. Their quiet nature doesn't mean they lack opinions or passion. It means they're waiting for the right moment. And when it comes, their voice cuts through the noise, not by being louder, but by being real. Way number 6. They hold contradictions without breaking. Some people need things to be simple. They want one answer, one identity, one emotion at a time. But INFJs don't live like that. They live in layers. They feel many things at once. They see both sides, and they carry opposing forces inside them without falling apart. They are deeply emotional, yet they think through everything. They care about people, yet they need long periods of solitude. They dream of changing the world, yet they get overwhelmed by too much attention. They value truth, yet they don't always speak it out loud. At first, this can seem confusing, even to themselves. INFJs often wonder, how can I be both quiet and intense? How can I love someone and still need distance? How can I care so much about people and still want to be alone most of the time? The answer is because that's how they're built. They are emotional thinkers, private empaths, visionaries with a need for calm. Their whole personality is made of opposites working together. This trait shows up in everything they do. When they face conflict, they want to resolve it, but also avoid it. When they start a project, they want it to be perfect, but they might delay it because their standards are too high. When they care about someone, they want to help, but they also protect their own space carefully. Most people are confused by these shifts. One moment, the INFJ is open and expressive. The next, they've gone quiet. One day, they seem strong and sure. The next, they're deep in reflection. But none of this means they're broken. It means they're managing multiple layers at once, and doing it without falling apart. What makes this so powerful is that they don't need to pick a side. They can live in the middle. They can hold the tension between who they are and who they're becoming, between what they feel and what they know, between needing people and needing peace. This ability to carry contradiction is part of their wisdom. They know life isn't simple, and instead of pretending it is, they face it as it is, messy, emotional, complex, and full of meaning. To be an INFJ is to be a walking balance between forces that don't always agree. And yet they walk forward anyway. Not by solving everything, but by holding it all with strength, patience, and quiet grace. So now you've seen it. 6 ways to understand the INFJ, not from the outside, but from the inside. And if you still feel like there's more to them than words can describe, you're probably right. INFJs aren't here to be simple. They're not meant to be easy to explain. They move in ways that don't always make sense at first glance. They listen more than they speak. They feel more than they show. They build patterns in silence and carry stories behind their eyes. You won't always notice what they're doing, but you'll feel it. In how they show up. In how they hold space for others. In how they say one sentence that sticks with you for years. The INFJ lives in layers. They hold emotion and logic, kindness and distance, presence and retreat. They don't fit into one role, and they don't need to. They are made to see what others miss, to care where others rush, to create meaning where others see only noise. If you recognize yourself in this video, then maybe you've always known that you're different. And that's not something to hide. That's something to understand. Because the more you understand it, the more you can stop explaining yourself and start trusting yourself. And if someone you care about is an INFJ, now you know a little more about how their mind and heart work. It's not about being mysterious. It's about being built to feel and see the world in ways most people don't. The INFJ doesn't need to be decoded. They need to be seen. And once they are, you'll realize no single explanation will ever be enough.